The Bert Show.
I think we were all hoping that Kristen was going to join us today, but things are getting all jacked up between VA hospitals and regular hospitals and doctors that haven't been prescribing her dad pain meds. Everything got all jacked up yesterday, man. So she's settling things down today, hopefully, so she's missing the show, and maybe she'll be back tomorrow morning. We're wishing for the best. God, this text exchange that we were all having yesterday was like jaw-dropping. Like, how can you mess this all? The man's got cancer. Right? Like, they couldn't find pain meds for him, and then she had to go from person to person finding it, and they messed things up at hospitals, and they just can't get the dude comfortable. Come on now. So Kristen's got the morning off. So you never forget your first time. And I am talking about the very first time you get fired. You just never forget it. Unfortunately for Katie, our producer, that time was over the last 48 hours. What happened, loser?
Wait a minute. Wait.
Came out swinging.
What'd you do? What did you do?
I took the time to stand up for myself. And
never do
That's
that.
always a bad
Never do
idea.
that.
my
Bosses don't got time for
supervisor
that.
was not happy at all.
All right, well, so without giving specifics and stuff like that, I would like to know generally what kind of job it was, the relationship between you and he or you and she.
It was, I was a marketing coordinator for the company, which was a very small company. It was basically 3 of us running it.
Okay.
And we had a interesting relationship. I had been working there for over a year and a half.
What are you looking back? I mean, you're saying interesting, but there was tension there probably. So what was most of this tension over if you're saying interesting?
He just didn't know how to speak to people. Whenever he spoke to someone, it's as if you're beneath me. Mm-hmm. And that's how I'm going to express anything I need from you, is that you're beneath me.
Older dude, younger staff?
Older, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
older guy, younger staff.
So is this a case
He's the
of
oldest
like,
in the office.
Was this a case of like either a Gen Xer or a baby boomer, old school thinking like, it's my way, don't ask questions, this is how it's done? Mm-hmm. Okay, you weren't digging that.
No.
Okay.
So this happened when I was out of town. He sent an email requesting a username for a website that I created for them so that they would be able to have all their products digitally streamed and so that the customers could digitally view the product. So he asked me for usernames, and I responded back that, hey, we talked about this deadline. This deadline was supposed to be when I got back in town. I'm currently out of town. I don't have access to this. But as soon as I get in town, I'll give you access.
You're on vacation at this point. Mm-hmm. So you took the days off. You're not in work mode, but he's asking you to do the work on vacation week.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So I let him know, as soon as I get back in town, I'll give you access. The last message I ever heard from him was sounds good, smiley face.
Okay.
Sounds good, smiley face. The following week, come back in. Fresh day. I'm like back in work mode. And no one's in the office. I walk in, the office is radio silent. There's not a single soul in there except for one person.
And you said there's only 3 or 4 people in this whole place anyway, right?
Well, on the side that I worked on, there was
Okay.
another side too, so that had like 5 other people. So a total of like almost 10 people in the office.
And no one's there.
No one, not a single.
And that's unusual.
Yeah, that's unusual.
Okay.
That's unusual. Everyone's there before me.
Right.
So the only person there is my manager, who was in between. He's like lower than the head boss guy, but he was over me, and I worked closely with him.
So this is like the assistant supervisor. It's probably jockeying for the supervisor because he can do that job way better. But between you and the supervisor,
Yes.
got it.
So he's like, "Hey, everybody was too chicken to show up today." Those are his exact words. He said, "Everyone was too chicken to show up in the office today. He wanted me to terminate you. Here's your termination letter."
What?
Okay, so there's so much to chew on here as you're telling the story, and this is the first time I'm hearing it. So everybody in the office knew that you were fired before you were fired?
Yes.
How unethical.
And this happened when I was on vacation.
That's jacked up.
That's crazy.
So unethical that everybody else knows that you were fired before
Right.
you were fired while you were on vacation. I'm so mad for you right now when I drive over there.
Thank you. Thank you. I was furious.
You could drive over there, but her key card has no access.
Yeah. That's the second thing he said. I need your keys. Hand them over now.
So while you're on vacation, this dude goes around and lets everybody know, hey, I just want to let you guys know on Monday, Kay's not going to be with us anymore. Let's try to, like, not be weird when she shows up. Mm-hmm. Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
So no one came to work that day.
The fact that everyone was too scared to come to work is just another testament to how they run their place. Like, that's insane.
So the supervisor didn't even do it. The assistant supervisor
He did not do it himself. He basically
What a
had
big baby!
someone else do his dirty work.
Wow.
And
Baby boomer, what a giant baby.
Can I tell you that I had a host of a show do this to me one time also? That I was the producer of the show in D.C. And the producer underneath me was one of my best friends, and it just wasn't going real well. So the host and I decided that it was time to move on. So he said, you know what? On Friday, we'll sit down with this guy, and we will both tell your best friend that he can't work here anymore. And I'm like, it's going to suck, but all right, at least we'll do it. So Friday rolls around, and I'm in the office waiting for my friend. And just as my friend comes in, I see the host of the show running out of the building, leaving me to fire my best friend, man. What a D-bag, dude.
Tell me, because you have this guy's number, tell me that you've called him out on text at least, because that bridge is already burned. You're not going to get a reference from them.
Why
so
are you doing that?
Because he needs to know. If you act like a coward, you're going to get treated like a coward. I'm a big proponent of that. If you are too double-faced and can't even take care of your own business to someone's face, you need to call him out on it. What was the reasoning you were given?
Yeah.
For the termination,
because
exactly.
I was resistant with meeting a deadline. So I was resistant and I had a poor attitude. And when I disagreed with management, I expressed it poorly.
Sounds
and he said,
to me like he wanted to fire you before.
Yes, and in the letter said, overall, while everyone's opinions matter, management has the final say. That's what it said in there. And then in the very last paragraph, it contradicted itself because it said, Katie has great values that would be exceptional in any organization. She's highly creative.
Except this one.
Yeah, exactly. It said she's highly creative. She takes ownership of projects. And I can't remember what the last thing was. Highly creative, take ownerships of projects, and basically works well in an environment.
Damn.
Went back and forth.
You
like,
can't
I
even
work
trust
well,
smiley
but
face emojis anymore.
no,
Like,
no.
what
I
is this
thought
work
everything
coming
was
to?
good. Sounds good. It's
Right.
like, okay, I see you
Sounds
Monday.
good. Smiley face usually means you have a job on Monday.
Dang.
And last year, I don't think that people over 50 should be texting emojis in
Right.
work emails. Like, I
Right.
think that was like a trigger for me that I was like, oh, you're fired.
I think you're
Something's
probably
wrong
right.
here.
You're right. Mo, you ever been fired from a job?
Yeah,
Okay.
if it makes you feel any better, the first time I got fired, it was in a small office too with 3 people. It was a law firm. She was a lawyer. She had her own law firm, and she gave me the opportunity to come on and try to train me in being a paralegal. And I thought I was doing an amazing job. And then one day I was on my way to work, and I got a call from my mother. My mother was like, Reese, go ahead and turn around. Wherever you are, just go ahead and go back home. And I was like, wait, what? And she apparently didn't know how to tell me. So she emailed my mother.
Shut up,
I
man.
know, it's a true story.
What is it wrong
She
with people?
emailed my mother because my mother was one of the people who helped me get the job. So she emailed my mother and said, we got to let your son go. And my mother was like, why? And she said, because we believe someone is hacking into our files and stealing files and selling them. And my mother asked me, she's like, Reese, do you know how to do it? I'm like, hell no. If I knew how to do that, I wouldn't be working for you, lady. Like, I'd be on a beach somewhere hacking files. Like, what are you talking about?
That's the worst. So he calls your mother and says somebody is stealing and hacking files, and we believe it's your son.
Right.
So tell him he can't come in here
That's
anymore.
exactly how I got fired.
I cannot believe it.
That was how I got fired for the first time in my life.
That's crazy.
I was so excited to be in radio, man. I knew I wanted to be a sportscaster, and I didn't know how, but I just knew I had to get my foot in the door of a radio station or a TV station. So I got my foot inside of a country radio station in San Diego as a researcher, which really just meant dialing phones and trying to recruit people to listen to this country radio station. Well, we were all out on break, and this is way back in the day, when phones, landline phones, used to have a little kind of like device inside of the mouthpiece where if you took that part out, nobody could hear you on the other end. This is way back in the day, okay? So everybody was on break, and I thought it would be really funny to take that mouthpiece out of all of the phones. So everybody gets back from their break, and none of the phones are working. Engineers going absolutely berserk. Nobody can figure it out. They're working on it for 2 hours before I'm like, dudes, the joke's on you guys, man. Here are all these little devices. And I got fired that day.
Yeah, I would imagine
I got fired that very day, man.
Wow.
Tommy's been fired, our studio director.
I have, and it was the best firing ever. Because I'm on a radio morning show. It's in Charlotte, North Carolina. It was a country radio morning show, and it was the worst show I've ever been on. And I hated it. And it was a Friday. About halfway through the show, our program director sticks his head in and says, hey, come see me after the show.
Oh, no. This is Friday? A Friday?
Yeah, a Friday.
Never good.
And so
that's as bad as a smiley face.
I thought, that's weird. So after the show, I go actually to the general manager's office, and the PD is sitting there. And I sit down, and the general manager says, we need to make a change. We're going to let you go. And I paused, I looked at him, I said, and the look on that general manager's face was priceless, because I'd been grappling all morning long because I had decided I was going back to my old job, and I was going to go in right after the show and tell them. I was like, yeah, I'll do it Monday. And so it kind of worked out for me because I got 2 weeks severance, and had I not quit and got fired, had I quit, I would not have gotten severance.
Worked out well.
Worked out
well. Well, Katie, I just want to let you know that when you get fired here, I will do it face to face.
I appreciate that respectfully.
The Bert Show.